Welcome, everybody. Today we have with us Esther Ekhart, who is an internationally loved yoga teacher with a passion for health, psychology, and yogic philosophy. She is also the face and founder of EkhartYoga.com, which launched in 2012, and since then has become one of the top 5 most popular yoga streaming websites worldwide. With almost 1,800 yoga and meditation videos, monthly guided programs, and over 30 leading international teachers, Eckhart Yoga's goal is to make yoga accessible to everybody and every person's body. Eckhart Yoga promotes real yoga for real people. Welcome, Esther.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yes, great to be meeting with you and talking with you about EkhartYoga.com and some of the work that you're doing. So, your yoga blog talks a lot about psychology. How did you come to integrate yoga and psychology together?
Um, in the time when I was living back in Ireland, I lived in Ireland for 11 years before I moved back to Holland. I was a yoga teacher and I worked as a counselor. And so when you do both next to each other, they start feeding into each other. I think that's logical.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of common themes that I could see happening within my counseling, within the local community, I would sort of maybe talk about during the yoga class and during the poses, or just mention snippets of it and ways of being able to deal with that according to the yoga philosophy. And the other way around, of course, in my counseling sessions, I could see people being so stuck in their bodies, so I would incorporate a little bit of body work. So yeah, that became it became a mesh of everything I do and everything I know. And I think, and it's also where I suppose my passion lies within yoga, is purely the asanas, although they have a great effect in and on themselves. For me, it's not yoga. It becomes yoga when that teaches you something, when your mat becomes a laboratory in which you practice stuff that you can take off the mat and that makes sense in your daily life. So immediately when you work with psychological themes or your dark sides in yourself, and you start shadow sides, and you start sort of acknowledging that and knowing yourself and being able to observe and take a step back and getting out of your story, then yoga becomes interesting. So yeah, for me, it's one isn't loose from the other anymore. I don't think I could teach just asana. It would be too boring.
Now, what you're saying is that it's, you had this expertise in these two different areas and you're bringing them together because they're a passion of yours. But what I'm interested in is there an inherent relationship between the psychology and the stretching that you get with yoga? Is there an inherent relationship there, or is this just an interest of yours?
No, there is also an inherent relationship. Absolutely. I mean, people might not be aware of it. You can approach one and also affect the other, of course, without knowing it. But the inherent relationship could be that trauma is located or stored in particular body parts. So those parts of the body lock up. The energy doesn't flow through them. So you might be very stiff in a particular part of your back or your hips. So when you start working on the body, these sort of memories might even come to the surface, or maybe not the memories, but maybe the emotions that are attached to the memories. So I think everybody that does yoga can relate to that at some point they did something in their practice that just made them go either cry, or they had an epiphany, or they realized something. And so yeah, it can't be, you can't separate them. Of course, you can't separate them. And the other way, same thing. When I work emotionally with people, I can see it in their bodies. So when you start being aware of things, you might even certain poses suddenly become available, or you start to feel how certain tensions begin to release or disappear. So that doesn't mean that every tightness in the body has an emotional cause. I wouldn't go so far. And it certainly doesn't mean that if you can't do a particular pose in yoga, it means that you need to sort something out in yourself. It could also be just a bone structure or a way the body has grown, and it will never change. So this is all sort of generalized, but generally speaking, this will happen at some point, at some places in the body. This will count. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, at Joyful Belly, we tend to focus so much on the concrete and observable phenomena, even if it's subjective experience. It's still an observable phenomena, and often when people hear things like the body and the mind and the spirit are connected, they're thinking that it's that we're talking about energy medicine.
Hmm.
And what Esther is talking about here is the simple fact that when we get emotional, we tense up in our bodies, and oftentimes the reverse is true. That if we're really tense in our body, that we get emotional. This is not an esoteric concept, but just readily observable to every single person actually can relate to this. A tense day at work, you're gonna be pulling up the shoulders and tensing the upper back and possibly other areas of the body as well. And so when a person does yoga stretching and gets their body a little bit limber, maybe even goes for a walk, they will bring up their circulation, create some heat in their body, and flush out all their systems, and you notice a psychological effect from that, and that's what Esther is studying, the psychological effect of doing these doing various stretches, various yoga poses, and the vice versa as well, how psychology can affect the body. What about specifically in the digestive tract? Because another thing that Joyful Belly focuses on is food and digestion, and so our users want to know about that. They want to know, is there a psychological aspect of digestion, and also about does yoga affect digestion as well? So maybe you could start with that. Is there a psychological aspect of digestion, and what is it?
Okay, yes, there is certainly a psychological aspect on digestion.
Mm-hmm.
The digestive tract, it's a tube, you could say, all the way from the mouth down to where everything comes out, and you could call it a yes or no tube. And, you prefer it to be a yes tube. So that means that everything that you do eat and that you do digest, your body wholeheartedly says yes to, and it digests it like with an experience. The same thing. Like if you experience something, your whole being it's easier if you just say yes to it, because you won't just push it away. When you push something away, or when something you don't really at some deeper level want something to happen, you suffer. And the same with your digestion. If you eat something and a deeper layer inside yourself says, I don't trust this food, or I don't like this food, or I even believe that this food is bad for me, then you say no to the food, and that has an effect. The body won't be able to digest it. It might even start messing around with your vitamin uptake or intake of the food and things like that. So you can get shortages and aches and pains and things like that. So it's really important that you know what you're eating, and that you know that you're aware of your thoughts around eating, even because, if you eat a piece of chocolate and you might be at some level aware that might not be the best thing to do, but if you can at least say, okay, I'm eating this now, I wholeheartedly accept it and enjoy it to the fullest, and my body will deal with it, then your body most likely will deal with it. But if you eat that piece of chocolate with a pain in your tummy, thinking, oh, I shouldn't do this, and this is really bad, and I'm going to get into trouble, you probably will get into trouble. So it's as simple as that. And then, of course, there are serious, how do you call it, allergies that people have. So I don't want to say that if you have an allergy, just say yes to it and it'll go away. That's way beyond this conversation. So that's not what I'm saying. But generally speaking, I think it's important to know what the deeper thoughts and the deeper feelings are about what you eat. And you can also go as far to realize maybe as a child, you ate something specific, and at that particular time something really intense happened that wasn't pleasant, and you may link the unpleasantness with that particular food. Your body remembers that, and from that moment on, that food is sort of banned, and you will always react badly to it. And that still your body will react bad to it. So just knowing that won't magically maybe solve it, but it could. Like if you sometimes you can retrieve a memory like that, or you can work with the body and it will give you that information. And then you could maybe talk to your body and say, okay, once you started to believe that this food wasn't good for you for whatever reason, but now that's not the truth anymore. The reality is that now we can perfectly handle this food as long as we are okay with it. And you can start very carefully experimenting with it, making sure, of course, you don't experiment something that's deadly for you. So, and then see that works. And that's something that I've done personally with my sensitivities and allergies that caused me pains and aches, but would never be life-threatening. That at some point I started finding out, okay, what could be the reason that I have them? I got some information, I worked with it, I start sitting before I eat, I close my eyes, I go inside, I talk to myself, my digestive system, my deeper mind, if you like, my unconscious mind who rules this system. And I say, okay, this is okay. I want you to trust me that we can handle this food, that it's okay to eat this food. And then if I really do that and I eat it, it's fine. It's when I forget and the automatic pilot and the automatic defense system of my body kicks in that I might get into trouble again. But then when I've been conscious for a good while, so when I have re-established every time again that habit almost of thinking differently about gluten, for example, then then I can start eating it again without putting too much effort into it, and my body is now okay with it. So there are ways of really working on a psychological level with your digestive system. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, that brings up a few related questions here that it sounds almost like you're saying that what a person believes about the food they're eating can change the way they digest it. And
yeah.
And again, that, whenever we're talking about the mind and body and the relationship between the two, one of the questions that comes up for a lot of people is, how do you test this? Is this evidence-based? Is this real? Is this my imagination? And so can you shed some light on this? Is there what happens physiologically when a person rejects the food that they're eating?
Ooh, that's not my strongest side. Let me try.
All right, let's hear. So you've observed this relationship, but the cause of it you're not necessarily sure on. Is that it, or?
Yeah, like I have observed it in myself, and I come from the psychological side of things. Mm-hmm. So I think the body goes on a shutdown when you eat something that it believes isn't good for it. So it starts to reject it, mm-hmm. and the rejecting costs so much energy and so much trouble that that the trouble arises because it won't digest well. You won't get the vitamins and the nutrients out of it. In this way, if it's something that you eat a lot, for example, someone who has an allergy for, well, let's take a common one, gluten or wheat or something, you'll get into trouble because you might get a shortage of B vitamins, of all sorts of things that because there's no energy to work with that, it's not there. So something like that can happen. But yeah.
Well, maybe I'll throw out a conjecture. I apologize for asking you to be an Ayurveda practitioner on the phone call instead of a yoga teacher and a psychologist. So as an Ayurveda practitioner, I'll try to shed just a bit of light on that, and without having done a scientific study on it myself, I'll say that stress does affect circulation. So if a person is stressed out, then circulation to the gut organs will shut down. And so digestion will slow down if a person has stress. Now, if a person's rejecting food, does that mean that their stress levels are high enough to shut off circulation to the digestive organs? I'm not sure. But I do know this, that if a person is thinking, they're going to pull a lot of blood from the digestive tract into the brain. The brain, like the digestive tract, are both energy hogs, and there's often a tug of war between the two of them to fight for scant blood resources. Depending, of course, on the individual and even their level of hydration and other issues, how much blood's going to the brain, how much blood is going to the digestive tract, does have an effect on digestion. Is it going to shut down digestion completely? Maybe not. But we also have to consider the microbiome of the gut. There are lots of bacteria in the gut that are competing for your food. They want to digest your food and get the nutrients from it. And there's a little bit of a race to see who's going to who's going to be able to digest and absorb those nutrients first in many people's gut. And if you are losing 10% or 20% of your focus on digestion, if that's going to the mind, or if stress is causing a reduction of circulation to gut organs, that can affect digestion. Is that the cause that Esther Ekhart, of what Esther Ekhart is describing, this process that's so familiar to all of us? Because I've observed it as well, that if you reject what you're eating, then you don't digest it as well. Is this the cause of this phenomena that Esther is talking about? We're not sure yet. We'd love to do some scientific studies on that. But we've noticed this relationship, and so has Esther. So Esther, what you're talking about brings up another issue, which comes up all the time, and it's really an issue about people's beliefs, especially when it concerns food, and which is a touchy subject actually, and often a political subject as well. We have the Muslims who talk about halal. We have Jewish kosher. We have kosher in the Jewish religion. In yoga, there's sattva. Then there's Jesus, who talked about it's not what goes inside the body, but what comes out from the body that determines the goodness of a person. So there's all this idea of sometimes sacred food, healthy food. Now here, Esther is presenting a bit of a challenge here. She's saying what you think about your food matters with digestion, and that if you are very restrictive with food, that could cause lots of problems. So in a lot of yoga circles, that there's a lot of talk about sattvic food, which means food that is somehow sacred or holy or good for you, and then there's food that is either unhealthy, but not just unhealthy. There's a kind of moral tinge to it. So what about all this, Esther? Can you make a little sense of this? Is it good to have an idea of food that is holy and sacred, or is it what about what comes out from the heart, or can you resolve some of these deeper religious issues?
I can try. I don't think I don't think I can resolve them, but I can shed my light on it. Yeah, I think with regards to, is there holy food, or I think there are certain sort of common maybe rules that might count for everyone, that like sugar I don't think is going to ever be good for anyone. Certain things like that, and too much fat, and but that doesn't mean that a little bit of sugar can't just be okay, but I think so there's certain common things that we might all agree on, and then there are foods that will be particularly good for you and for your system, and I think Ayurveda goes with that as well, the different types and doshas, and what works for one might not work so much for another. So I think it's always going to be a personal affair, and I think everything in your life in a way should be a personal affair, because I think that's what we're meant to do. We're meant to learn something and then think, okay, and how does this apply to me? Because otherwise you're just going to take something without thinking from someone else, and I don't think that's ever healthy. So you should also never just believe what I say. That's what I think. I just think, okay, it's a point of view. You might think it's interesting, and then you're going to look and see what's true for you. And I think with food, that's a big deal. So an avocado could be great for me, and it could be really not so great for your body. Your body might react completely different to it. So that's what I believe. And then I think, in yoga, a lot of people are maybe vegetarian, probably even vegan. I think that could be a good thing if that suits your body. And I certainly think that personally, I'd like to eat as much as I can without hurting any living being. But then again, you can ask, are plants living beings? So even there you go. But
yeah.
So I'll stick with animals, and I eat as little as possible and as organic as possible. But I've gone through a phase where I was a vegetarian for most of my life. And I got into real B12 and iron troubles, and every practitioner I went to was like, you really need to start eating some meat. And at some point I thought, okay, now I'm going to listen. I went to this particular person. I thought, you know what? I'm going to trust her. Whatever she says, I'll do. And she said, go eat meat.
And it worked.
So that's what I did. And it was hard in the beginning, but I improved. And I don't know why, and I'm not sure what was going on, but I did improve. And now I'm cutting down again, and I hardly ever, but something has shifted, and my body is strong again. And so there is the environment and the animals, but then there's you. And at some point you may have to do something that's good for you, and with as little damage to the rest of life. And so that's all. It's always a dance. I think it's always a dance, and I think you should see it as a beautiful dance and do the best you can. Yeah, and exactly. Be really personal about it.
Yeah, that's a very Ayurvedic approach to it, and I feel I can hear some of the compassion and forgiveness that you have for people in being a little bit more flexible with food, and not everybody has that point of view. It is nice to see that flexibility, and that you're calling people into seeing how their body reacts to food. So
yeah.
If you this question of food and beliefs, very few people are going to eat chili peppers and then go into a state of contemplative prayer, right? That's not going to happen. You're not you're going to want to go for, you're going to want to get pumped up and run around in circles if you have a bunch of chili peppers. So clearly there are certain foods that are going to affect our state of mind and our psychology, and I think a chili pepper is a great example of that.
Sugar.
But it is individualized. Ayurveda speaks very clearly about a person's individual understanding and reaction to food, which is a personal experience that people have with food, and therefore with their digestion as well.
And it can change at times in your life as well.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, it can. It can change. In fact, it definitely does. Every decade of your life, the digestive organs get just a little bit weaker. And if you want to stay strong and healthy as a person, then we have to adjust our food choices. I used to eat when I was 18 years old. I used to eat a whole pizza pie, and now I can't do that anymore. My digestion can't handle it. So
no, exactly.
Yeah, that was the bygone days.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I used to say when I was younger, I've got an iron stomach. Well, I don't anymore.
No, that's just the reality. So if we want to be vibrant and strong and energized, then we can't dump food in our gut that we can't handle anymore, because that's going to make us feel tired and sluggish.
Yeah.
So maybe you could tell us, Esther, some specific poses, now that we've talked a little bit about the psychological relationship with food that one should have. Can you tell us a little bit about maybe some specific poses that would be good for digestion, and maybe articulate why those poses would be good for digestion?
Okay, well, I think also that, of course, can again be quite personal and individualized, but there are some general rules that could work. Agni, as we call it, is important. Agni is important. Within yoga, we talk about Agni, I think in Ayurveda too, which is the the fire that gives us the physical power of digestion,
Mm-hmm.
and it also gives us the energy to digest, the sensory impressions, the thoughts and the feelings, and our food.
Mm-hmm.
So to sort of work with to produce Agni, you generate tapas, what we call in yoga, and tapas is heat, and but also tapas is maybe like a motivation or a discipline to actually do something good for yourself. So it could be every day you do something that works for your body. So that could be every day one sun salute, because sun salute, for example, gets everything going in the body, the fluids move, circulation starts to move, and you pump prana, you pump life energy through the system. So also into, as you explained, into your digestive system and into your stomach.
Mm-hmm.
So sun salute could be very good for those people, for example, who would be quite sedentary, is that a word,
Yeah.
in their lifestyle, so that wouldn't move so much, or in front of a computer all day, or whatever you do, driving. So I wouldn't say, take a static pose for those people. I'd say get moving. It can be in yoga, it could be strong standing poses, keep the flow going, sun salutes. Back bends is something that opens the front of the body, so it opens the digestive system. But then if you bend forward, it massages some of those same sort of parts of the digestive system.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd say, again, look at your lifestyle. What is your dominant sort of thing that you do during the day, and how can you balance that? So if you're very active during the day and you're very stressed, my advice might be do some more yin-like yoga, do some more static, some seated poses. It might be just more about relaxation, so that everything relaxes and the energy flows. If you're dull and behind a computer, then and stagnant, you need to bring it up. So I think that's maybe what you need to look up. They talk a lot about twists in yoga, how twists are good for the digestion, and I think there's also a lot of controversy about it, which I won't go into too much. But I think twists are good too, because they squeeze out some of the circulation out of certain organs, and then when you come out of the twist, the blood runs through them.
Mm-hmm.
And that won't necessarily make you suddenly digest something perfectly, but it does, again, talking about circulation, it just gets things going again. So yeah,
Well,
there's
here's where collaboration can be useful. This is a great conversation. I think you're articulating it very specifically. It's great. I'd love to, in fact, this subject is very exciting for me to talk about with you. These twists can also help things move along. If sometimes people have kinks in their intestines and something's stuck in a particular spot, and a twist kind of squeezes it forward. You can also it also refreshes the liver, which is a digestive organ, and gets additional bile circulating in the digestive tract to emulsify fats. So if I heard you right, you said that if people are hyperactive, then they need to relax to digest. If people are sedentary, then they need to generate heat to digest.
yeah,
And then twists actually for people um, who need to like squeeze out the organs and refresh the circulation of all the organs, right? Like a sponge, you squeeze a sponge, all the water comes out. You open up the sponge, and it sucks the water back in,
yeah,
refreshing all the organs and assisting with peristalsis. Three different strategies that Esther has articulated around using yoga physical poses to improve digestion. And perhaps those even correspond to the three body types. Kapha people could use that heat, and perhaps Vata people can use the relaxation, and Pitta those twisting poses.
yeah,
So there may be a body and constitutional element to that as well.
yeah,
Yeah, so fantastic. That is great to have that laid out so neatly.
yeah. Thank you for saying it so neatly. Yeah,
So you had some allergies and digestive issues in the past, right? Is that
yeah,
true? You mentioned that.
yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? What are some of the
Sure.
techniques you use too?
Yeah, so when I started to find out about my iron deficiency and my B12 problems, I of course did my own research. Before I started eating meat, I wasn't ready in the beginning. Um, they said to me, well, try and at least stop eat gluten. And because I always had also very bloated tummy. And I did notice at some point in my life back in Ireland where I couldn't eat a lot of things at the same time. Like if even going to parties where they would have and rice and pasta and potatoes, I could not get away with things like that. So I'd be eating very little, very simple with one particular food type, and I'd just get away with that. So that gave me lots of problems, and stop eating gluten helped, but still I was still not quite right. And at some point, I came across a technique where, and this is not so long ago. This is maybe half a year to a year, 3/4 of a year ago, where I started to incorporate pranayama straight away when I woke up. And that's basically deep breathing with the intention of just getting as much oxygen into the system as possible, and then work with retention. So after the 30th breath, I would breathe out and hold my out breath for as long as I could possibly do it without doing it too long. Yeah. And then breathe in again. And then I would do that 3 times, that same particular way of breathing set. And then take a cold shower. And that's it. And that has made the biggest impact on my recovery and I can eat everything now. I can still feel that eating gluten makes it harder for my body, but my body is capable and totally capable. I can do it without problems. I just don't necessarily like it so much. But when I travel and something non-gluten is not available, I won't starve myself like I used to. Or I'm not so stressed about taking stuff with me. I know that it's fine and that my body can handle it and that it doesn't make me sick anymore. And I did the combination of what I was just saying about the breathing and the cold showers. And in the beginning, when I started to go back to gluten to try it, I would sit with my eyes closed, like I was talking about in the beginning, and I would say to my body, it's okay. We can deal with this. We can do this. We've got this. We are very well capable of digesting this.
Yeah, like those forward folds you've said before, breathing does, massage our digestive organs. And what is it you said before, that tension, emotional tension in the gut itself can disrupt the way the food is moving. It can disrupt peristalsis.
Yeah.
So this breathing, it sounds like you relaxed yourself and you didn't worry about it, but that you just kept things flowing really by keeping the circulation moving and by staying relaxed.
Yeah, and I do it every morning. Every morning, I don't skip a day. I've just noticed so much the effects of it, and the cold shower is also, I think, has done a big deal.
Has made a cold shower do? Tell me about that. Why cold shower?
I think the cold shower shocks the system in a way. So it also brings a lot of circulation to the skin, of course, and to the muscles, but also I kind of have to keep read up about it. But I know it's all an old Ayurvedic practice, isn't it? As well?
No, this is funny because let's think about that. Now, my Ayurveda teacher used to tell us not to take a hot shower after eating because that brings the blood to the skin because it causes the capillary beds to dilate.
Yeah.
And in the summer, people have trouble digesting because all their blood's in their skin. And the evidence for that is just simply that they have a red face, right? Who has a red face in January? Nobody. Everyone looks red in June in the hot sun. So all the blood is in the skin, the largest organ of the body, and very little blood is left for digestion. And that's why Dr. Laud used to tell us not to have a hot shower as well.
And with a cold shower, it locks off the skin, doesn't it?
Yeah, cold shower would block off the skin. That is shocking. So Ayurveda would say not to shock your system when you are trying to digest. But as you said, it depends on the person. It may be that because of these breathing exercises and other things that you're doing, that you're reducing the stress of that shock, but you're still getting the additional blood flow from the skin. You're pushing that into the core
You
where your
push it back
digestive
into the
organs
body.
are,
Yeah,
and so in your body, the additional blood is more has a greater effect than the shocking effect. And I could imagine in someone else's constitution that if they shock themselves with a cold shower, it might turn their stomach and they would be unable to digest.
yeah,
We'll think about that some more. Great technique though. One
yeah. And it's,
that I've certainly never thought of before doing after helping people with digestion for years and years together. I've never thought of this cold shower trick,
but I would
and so
also
I'm
do the
gonna.
cold shower. You would do it first thing in the morning. You wouldn't do it after a meal or something. So you would do it first thing in the morning, and I think what I do, my technique is that I will stay under the cold shower till I manage to completely relax myself. So at some point, so I'm not under the cold shower going, oh, I will take a deep breath. I will turn on the cold shower and I will stay there with my just breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth till my my parasympathetic nervous system is switched on. So I'm completely relaxed. So it basically increases your tolerance to stress because during that moment, you put yourself under stress, then you relax yourself. Your body gets really stronger. And also, a lot of people who do the cold shower therapy are hardly ever sick as well.
Now we
So,
know that you are a true yogi because you are going through the demanding aesthetic practice of relaxing under a cold shower.
there you
So,
go.
you know, my yoga skills have not advanced to that level yet, personally. Interesting to know um, that that people in when they're under stress for whatever reason, whether it's a cold shower or something painful, that they can use it as an opportunity for transformation. To recognize that not to be in a state of panic, but that one is strong, to have faith, and one will emerge from that not just the same as they were before, but able to digest gluten and all sorts of other benefits
Yeah,
can
there
come
you
from it. So very interesting. All right, here's a question that I love to ask everyone that I interview because we love food so much at Joyful Belly, and we love to see food from other people's eyes. So, what is your favorite food, Esther? And can you tell us again, since Ayurveda is all about relationship with food and how your body reacts to food, can you tell us what's it like to eat that favorite food?
Okay, well, my favorite food has to be avocado because I eat one every day and I just love it. And what it's like, yeah, it's just the creamiest, soft, yeah, health that you eat. It's just healthy. It has healthy fats. I can just feel the goodness of it
Mm-hmm.
personally. Yeah, this is again personalized. Personally, I can feel the goodness of it, and uh, I can eat it anytime. And it's just with a little bit of olive oil or with a little bit of salt, very little, or some vinegar, or just normally, or I throw it in a smoothie, or I can just any on bread. Um, it's just and it actually um, when I've eaten it, I almost always feel better. So it's also
Mm-hmm.
something that I keep with me if I need an emergency something. Then that works.
How,
That will
in
do the
what
job.
way do you feel better? Can you tell us that? Now we're getting
Um,
really deep into it.
in what way do I feel better? Um,
Yeah, what's the before and after difference?
I might feel more. I think I feel almost more grounded or something, like something gotten in my body that just makes me relax
Yeah.
and more present again. Yeah, I
Uh-huh.
think it's almost that. Yeah,
Yeah, very satisfying food.
satisfying. Yeah.
Yeah. The fats in avocado are very affectionate. If I were to think about just from hearing what you were saying, how you're testifying about the avocado, and thinking about the Ayurvedic qualities of it, you talked about its creaminess, uh, and and that's comes from some of the fat content in the avocado. And that is very grounding, and it's very affectionate. Fat is always affectionate in Ayurveda. It makes a person, sweetens a person, it relaxes them, it makes them feel secure again.
Yeah.
And you talked about the softness of it. I mean, it's like the second word that you gave. You said the creaminess, and then you said the softness. And you didn't just say softness meaning texture, but that it almost imparted that softness to you. The way you
Yeah.
said it had that
Yeah.
emotional content there. And then you said something really curious. You said it, you feel the goodness of it.
Yeah.
Now, where else can you get a green fat? Right? There's no other fats that are green. And so we know that there's something special about an avocado. Yes, it looks like alligator skin on the outside. It comes from Venus. We know that, that avocados come from some other planet somewhere. We don't know how the heck, or where the heck God thought that one up. But but you feel the goodness of it because it's green. It's a vegetable. And then
Yeah.
you said something else curious about it. You said you can eat it at any time. You talked about the simplicity and directness of the avocado. You can just throw a little bit of olive oil and salt on it, throw it in a smoothie, stick it on bread. It's versatile, direct, simple, and makes you feel relaxed and soothed. And so a great food loved by many.
Absolutely. I'm going to have one in a moment.
All right, yeah, yeah. Maybe I will too. After giving an interview, and we're sitting here and for all to see, we can probably both use an avocado to ground us afterwards. So, thank you, Esther, for sharing. I asked you some tough questions, um, and and it was really great to hear your response on them, and also really great to hear you articulate so cleanly and clearly what people can do, how people can use yoga to improve their digestion. I think that is a message that every one of Joyful Belly users can benefit from, and and it's just so exciting to be able to talk to you. Can you tell us how can people learn more from you? I know they can go to your website, which, by the way, is great. It's so easy and simple to use. You've taken all this content, which we've tried to do at Joyful Belly as well. Take a ton of content and organize it. It's very hard. I think you did a fantastic job in that, and providing a lot of value to people. But people probably want to interact with you personally too, or maybe they want to do a workshop or something. Do you offer that? What kinds of workshops do you offer? How can people get more?
Yeah. Well, so I offer workshops like 2.5 hour yoga workshops, or 4 in a weekend. So people can come to a place where I teach, like Vienna, in a couple of weeks, or I teach a retreat the end of June in Turkey. I teach a teacher training in November in Spain, and they can find all the information on that on eckhartyoga.com. Of course, I've got a private Facebook page, which is called Esther Ekhart. I've got a page and a private, but look for the page, and you can always leave a personal message there, or get in touch with me there. And there I will also post workshops and retreats and teacher trainings when I do them. And I'm certainly available to come to your country. If anybody wants to organize something for me, I love that. So there's always also a way to get in touch with me. And yeah, that's what I do. And of course, you can find me online in the website with lots of yoga videos, so you can do yoga with me through the videos as well, and read my articles.
Great. Now, what are some of the topics that you'll be discussing in these upcoming yoga retreats? Vienna, Turkey. What will you be presenting there?
So in Vienna, I will be doing things like yin and yoga nidra. So the relaxing side of it, I always balance it. And of course, the vinyasa, the more getting everything going, getting the energy side of it. Because I do believe that's the one thing I haven't mentioned yet, that of course we eat what we eat. But these days, with this sitting culture, with all the computers and things, like, we are how we move. And I think that's a big thing in people's lives. So come to a workshop and I tell you all about that one, because that's one of my things at the moment. And then in Turkey, it's really a great like balanced workshop where in the morning it'll be all active, and in the evening it will all slow down. And I talk about philosophy, I talk about psychology, and how yoga can help in certain subjects, and mindfulness. And I will always finish with a good yoga nidra and some yin yoga. So it's a lovely retreat that by the end of it you will really come out feeling extreme. Yeah, it's like you start over. You have a whole sort of how do you call it? You've pressed the reset button in your body and mind with a retreat like that.
Yeah,
And
fantastic, and
yeah.
lots of benefits that continue on after. I'm sure just by hearing our interview today, you can see that Esther has a lot to share on several different subjects: psychology, food, and on yoga. Bringing them all together, and with this, of course, this fabulous resource on her website. So thank you again, Esther. It's really great to get another chance to talk with you, and I hope we do get a chance to share more of your knowledge with our users in the future.
Anytime, John. Thank you for asking such great questions.
Oh, good. I'm glad you like them.
Absolutely.